Hey, what's going on YouTube? I know it's been a minute and I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I got an interesting question from a subscriber and she asked me, what are the hidden costs and other things in terms of expenses that you might incur when you move abroad? And I thought this would make an interesting topic for a video, so here I am with a brand new video for you guys. Let's get into it. Now, when you move abroad, there's going to be a lot of different expenses that you didn't plan for. Some of them are going to become sort of a reoccurring theme for you. And a lot of people who have moved abroad and make content, I don't see them talk about this. And I have a handful of things that I'm going to mention here. And I hope this helps you out in your journey and helps you decide what you need to budget for before you make that leap. Now, I find myself going home a couple of times, maybe 3 times a year at max, along with other places that I might travel to in between. But when you go home, it's likely going to be for some life event for a friend or family, like a wedding, a birthday, a graduation. Unfortunately, some people are going to pass. There's going to be family emergencies. There might be a newborn that you haven't had a chance to hold yet. There's going to be a numerous amount of things that are going to require your presence back home, including holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas that you might want to take part in every now and then. So yeah, just budget for this because this is going to constitute a major expense for you when you move abroad, especially if you're in a farther place like Far East Asia, like if you move to Seoul or Tokyo, for example. Those flights can be expensive because of the distance they are from, the US or your home country. And a pro tip that I have is using travel credit cards. Now, these are excellent because a lot of the expenses that you have in everyday life, especially when it comes to moving abroad, you can put them on your travel credit card, accumulate points and miles, and redeem those points and miles for flights when you want to go back home. A side note though, be responsible with credit and credit cards. I'm not saying to go rack up a whole bunch of debt. Only put expenses on these cards that you know you can pay off or that you have in debit. The point is that you want to start using these cards so that you can develop points and miles so that you can redeem them later on for flights. So the next thing that you might have thought of or you might not have thought of is paperwork. And aside from getting the paperwork that you need from your home country, you might have to do some further processing or translating in your target country. For me, for instance, although the apostilling and obtaining the documents in the States was fairly cheap, I mean $20 here, $10 there, when I got to Brazil, translating them from an official translator designated by the Brazilian government was about $175 per document. I don't know why it was so expensive, but I had about 7 or 8 documents to translate and hand over to get my residency. So, I had to fork over a good grand or maybe $1,200. I don't know, it was around that area. So yeah, just keep that in mind that you might need to pay for something in regards to processing your documents further after you obtain them from your home country and you bring them to your target country. So just budget for that. Also do your research so that you know whether this is something that you have to do or not. One other thing that you might need to think about as well is getting a storage unit or some sort of PO box or a mail service like Anytime Mailbox. Now I'll explain. So I use Anytime Mailbox and I'm not sponsored by them or there's no affiliate link. They're just a service that I use. And you can just upload your mail and you can see it online in your online portal. You can shred your mail. All this is remote, by the way. You can shred your mail, you can forward it, and you can have them hold it for a designated amount of days. Now, they offer a bunch of other services as well, but those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, some people also have PO boxes for online businesses and other purposes as well. Side note, if you want to look more professional with your online business, make sure you get one of these PO boxes or these mail service in a commercial building. That just makes it look really, really professional in case you want to get funding later on, like a line of credit or credit card. They do check these things. So it's best to start off on the right foot. Other than that, we have storage units. You have things that you might have that are sentimental, that you might not know what to do with yet, or furniture that's expensive that you haven't sold yet, or a myriad of other things that you might need to safeguard and keep. And you might need to consider that as an expense. And depending on what city you're from or what locale you're from, these storage units can be expensive. I mean, right now, the last one I had was about $150 a month, but thank God I was able to figure out my things so I didn't have that pesky expense, because I was paying for it for almost 4 years. Now, you probably won't be able to get all your favorite things in your target country, in a new country that you're settling in and getting acclimated in, and you're gonna figure that out very quickly. Now, I figured out there was a lot of things I couldn't get, like electronics, my favorite brand of peanut butter, and a bunch of other things that aren't really native or consumed a lot here in Brazil. So if you do consume those things on a regular basis, I know one pain point for a lot of Black people, especially in countries that are more homogenous, like East Asia or like Eastern Europe, like Latvia and Macedonia and a bunch of other countries. Hair care products is a pain point. So a lot of those things, you know, especially if you have like a very intricate hairstyle, like, you know, dreadlocks or something like that, they could become expensive, you know, because you have to ship them or you have to take them every time you go back home. So you have to budget for that. You have to budget for that if you continue to keep that hairstyle, or if you have something that you're fully engrossed in, like you're a YouTuber or you're some sort of content creator and you need gadgets like microphones or, you know, cameras or something that's not available at reasonable prices in your target country, then that's something that you're gonna have to consider as an expense. I know for me, I consume a lot of electronics, so Brazil has a hefty tax on, you know, foreign imported goods, including electronics from the United States and China. China's tax is a little bit less than United States. United States is almost double. So yeah, I mean, it's just something that you have to think about. Try and figure out what you use and consume on a daily, weekly basis, and see if they're available in your target country. And if not, you're gonna have to budget for that thing, whatever it is, or decide whether it's important enough to keep spending money on. Now, the next one is definitely country specific, but I know a lot of countries, Brazil included, they actually care that you do have like some sort of banking history or rental history there in the country. And if you don't, if you're a foreigner, you're seen as more of a risk. Now, like I said, this is very country specific, but in my case, I had to put more security deposits down just to get into my first apartment here. And that was actually like 6+ months of the rent that I had to put down just so I can get an apartment, because I didn't really have too much of a banking history or any sort of rental history here. So I was deemed as a bit risky, and you might be as well. And I mean, technically they're right, and all these landlords, they're, you know, right for trying to protect their assets, because if you're a foreigner, you can just theoretically get up and go back to your country or move to a different country. So they have to give you some sort of incentive to stay, and that incentive is going to be a larger security deposit. It keeps them safe. So keep in mind that this might happen to you, this might not happen to you. It's all about research, but it's definitely an expense that you might not have thought about, you may have thought about. So just prepare for it. Now, the last thing, there isn't really much of a name for it. I just coined it the rookie mistakes. And these are the things that you're gonna do or that you're not gonna do that's gonna cost you money, like living in a wrong neighborhood, not knowing the cheapest places to eat, not understanding the transportation system very well, or where to buy the best things. Like, you're gonna spend a lot of money trying to figure your way out. And in the process of figuring yourself out, you're gonna make a lot of rookie mistakes. So yeah, just budget for that. I really don't know how to quantify what you should budget for that. There's gonna be a different amount depending on the country that you're living in, but just know that you're going to make mistakes, and give yourself some grace as well as some leg room for those miscellaneous expenses that you're gonna spend money on and you're gonna incur just off of not knowing what you don't know. All right, that's it for this video, and I hope I was able to provide an immense amount of value and give you some insight as to things that you might not have thought about before that you might spend money on when you move abroad. Now, let me know in the comments below where you plan on moving and what you think you're gonna be spending money on the most when you move there. Thanks for watching and take care.